aims to harness the economic potential of FDI, to boost development in poorer countries. But India argued that IFD, investment facilitation for development, falls outside the scope of WTO, as it is not a trade issue, and it goes beyond the scope of Marrakesh Agreement. See, I told you Marrakesh Agreement is a genesis agreement for WTO, which came out of Uruguay round of talks. And this IFD goes beyond the scope of Marrakesh Agreement. This is India's standpoint on IFD. So coming to various terms and terminology that is used in WTO. This terms and terminology is also very important with respect to our exam, even prelims exam. Terms and terminology is very important with respect to our exam, including our prelims exam. So let's go with terms and terminology, and also there are many things to discuss about WTO. First of all, MFN status, most favored nation status. MFN status. See, if you listen to the word MFN, we feel that we are favoring something. No. MFN status means I will give same preference and same treatment to you as I am giving to other trading partners. MFN status doesn't mean I am specially favoring you, specially treating you. I am giving same treatment or equal treatment which I am giving to other trade partners to you also. Okay, if you listen to the term MFN, you feel that it is showing special favor, but it is not showing special favor. It is that not showing any discrimination. I can say in the simple words, it means not showing any discrimination. So MFN, a principle of non-discrimination, where trade preferences, subsidies, or tariffs granted to one member country must be extended to other countries also. Granted to one member country must be extended to other countries also. MFN status ensures fairness and uniformity in global trade. Okay, so this is called MFN, most favored nation. For example, India extended MFN to Pakistan. Pakistan delayed in extension to MFN to India, but India suspended that MFN recently. All these things. Next, non-discrimination. Non-discrimination. It's a core WTO principle. Non-discrimination is a core WTO principle that ensures no country is unfairly treated. No country is unfairly treated in terms of tariffs, trade negotiations, or trade regulations. In terms of tariff, trade regulations, or market access. Tariffs, trade regulations, or market access. Next, rules of origin. Rules of origin. See, with some free trade agreement, if I purchase cheaper product from some country and if I start exporting those products to other country. See, for example, if I purchase cheaper palm oil from Malaysia, for example, the palm oil costs 100 rupees, I have purchased for 40 rupees from Malaysia and I started exporting for 50 rupees. Malaysia started selling the same for 60 rupees and Malaysia is selling its own palm oil for 60 rupees. I am selling Malaysian palm oil for 50 rupees. Automatically, the product sold by me will be sold because I am selling at a cheaper cost. So, I have taken the advantage of FTA from Malaysia. This should not happen. There is a concept called rules of origin, rule of origin. Whenever you are exporting something, you should tell that the raw materials used in that product belongs to your country. Okay, the product, the percentage of how much percentage of the entire product actually it is originated in your country. This is called rules of origin. I'll tell you a small example. Long back, one of my friend came from America and have gifted me some dining table mats. She told each mat costed $1 and there's a sticker. So after a few days, when my maid opened those stickers to place the mats on the table, the mats, they are shown that they are made in India. I think you got it, got the logic. America got cheaper material from India, mats from India, and they are selling it for $1 a mat, and they are of export quality. I'll tell you one interesting and sad news. The best cashew nuts from Srikakulam district, the best prawns from Godavari districts, the best fish, the best mangoes, and all the best products will be designated as export products. Okay, export goods. I can say export quality. If you open that export quality goods, you can see the finest product inside that. The tastiest mangoes, the most qualitative cashews, the most sophisticated and soft textile that will be exported from our country, and the rest all will be left to the people who actually produce them. I think you got it. In the name of export quality, we are exporting the most qualitative products. It can be a prawn, a mango, a textile, a tool, even a post qualitative polished diamond, anything. That's called export quality. When you ask something in the shop, request them to provide export quality. That will be packed separately, and the half-cut cashews, the tasteless mangoes, the small-sized prawns, they are all left to us. Okay, if you observe. So for that reason, I can tell you, rules of origin is very, very important. Rules of origin is very, very, very important. And sometimes we were made to purchase our own goods at a cheaper cost in foreign countries. We were made to purchase our own products. Sometimes some textiles are cheaper in America and qualitative in America, Indian made textiles, than in India. Okay, that makes us to feel very sad of our own products, what we wear, what we eat, and almost the cost is same, but the quality changes, quality differs. Sometimes some countries will take the advantage of trade agreements and get cheaper products, and our government will give a lot of support to exports, right? So they can sell at a cheaper cost. For example, they can sell a cotton textile in export based industry at a cheaper cost of 200 rupees, wherein which we have to purchase the same textile in India for 300 rupees. So better to purchase from America and bring it back to India. Okay, so rules of origin. Criteria used to determine rules of origin. Criteria used to determine the national origin of a product. Criteria used to determine the national origin of a product to ensure compliance with trade agreements. To ensure compliance with trade agreements. It prevents misuse of rules of origin, prevents misuse of preferential trade agreements. It prevents misuse of preferential trade agreements by ensuring products genuinely originated from the exporting country. So if India is exporting, India should say this product belongs to me, or 90% of raw materials used in the product belongs to me. I have not imported the raw materials and made a product and I am not selling it to you. If at all I am selling like that, I should say 90% belongs to me or 80% belongs to me. 10% belongs to say some Taiwan. The same thing is being happened in semiconductor industry also. Next, special safeguard mechanism, SSM. I told you, to protect our farmers, India is demanding SSM. SSM. It's a demand from developing countries. It's a demand from developing countries to temporarily increase tariffs. On agricultural imports. To temporarily increase tariffs on agricultural imports during import surges. Or price declines to protect whom? To protect our farmers. India is a strong advocate of SSM. So India wants special safeguard mechanism to protect our farmers. Suddenly if some goods from like pepper or cereals or pulses or rice or palm oil dumps from other countries at a cheaper cost, our farmer will get affected. So India can increase the tariffs on the imported goods so that our farmers can compete in our markets. Next, protectionism. Measures taken by a country to protect its domestic industries, measures taken by a country to protect its domestic industries from foreign competition through tariffs, quotas or subsidies. But WTO don't allow protectionism too much. It won't allow protectionism. In various cases, it is discouraging protectionism. Let the markets be free. Let the markets be competitive. If you start protecting your own goods, international trade will get affected. Example. America imposed tariffs on Chinese aluminum and steel products to safeguard its domestic industry. Aluminum and steel products to safeguard its domestic industry. Next, unfair trade practices. Unfair trade practice. Selling below the production cost. What is unfair trade practice? Selling at a lower cost. Why? To discourage competition. Why we go for unfair trade practice? To discourage competition. If we want to monopolize the business and discourage the competition, we go for unfair trade practice, selling at a lower cost sometimes even than the production cost. For example, Reliance Jio, when it was launched, it was for a throwaway price. Now they started increasing the prices of Jio. Right? So this is called unfair. Ambani will come and question me if I talk like this, right? Unfair. Actions like dumping, export subsidies or discriminatory practices that distort DISTORT that distort fair trade. Example. WTO ruled against China's export subsidies. WTO ruled against China's export subsidies on certain products, deeming them unfair under global trade rules. Next, level playing field. Next term, level playing field. See, all countries should get equal opportunity in international trade. Ensuring that all countries, irrespective of economic capacity, compete under similar trade rules and conditions. Next, TRIPS agreement. What is TRIPS? Trade related intellectual property rights. This agreement is with respect to IPRs, copyrights, patents, geographical indications, industrial designs. All these things comes under TRIPS, trade related intellectual property rights. TRIPS agreement was made under the supervision of WTO, World Trade Organization. Next, I'll discuss separate lecture on IPRs. Now we'll go forward with WTO. Okay. Next, tariff and non-tariff trade barriers. Tariff and non-tariff trade barriers. What is tariff trade barrier? What is non-tariff trade barrier? Tariff means any duty, any tax, any cess, any countervailing duty, any anti-dumping duty which you levy on your imports. It's called tariff trade barrier. For example, you are importing some electronic products from China. You are imposing more countervailing duty or tax on it. Then it is called tariff. Tariff is related to monetary things, tax. Tariff is related to monetary things, that's called tax, etc. Non-tariff trade barriers. Non-tariff trade barriers are like not related to money, not related to tax, not related to duty, but they regulate or they obstruct the trade. Example, take down. Sanitary and phytosanitary requirements. Sanitary or phytosanitary requirements. Shall I take an example and explain? India's Alfonso mangoes were banned in America and some European countries few years back because India is using artificial fruit ripener on it. This is called sanitary phytosanitary trade barrier. Our Alfonso mangoes are most favored mangoes in the world. Most of our Alfonso mangoes are not available for Indians to eat. They were exported. But there's a ban on Alfonso mangoes for some years in various countries. I'll give one more example. When Fukushima incident happened, when there was a news that nuclear waste and nuclear it was dumped into the ocean, many countries have banned purchase of fish from Japan, importing fish from Japan. This is also a trade barrier, not related to money. And next type of trade barrier, sanitary, phytosanitary, environmental trade barriers. I told you Japan. Or there's one more interesting news. Few years back, there's a news in European newspaper, one European newspaper, I don't remember the name, that while fishing the tuna fish, the nets are harming the biodiversity, marine biodiversity. And some countries have banned tuna fish from India. So the fishing nets related to tuna fishing, in that fishing trawling boats, it is causing harm to marine biodiversity. Immediately some countries banned purchasing fish from India, tuna fish from India. And the third important thing, certain restrictions. There's a news that child labor is being used in weaving Kashmiri tiwachis, pashminas. And immediately some countries banned import of tiwachis or carpets from India. They are not related to tariff or tax, but they have obstructed the trade because of certain child labor issues, environmental issues, nuclear issues, or sanitary phytosanitary issues. They are called non-tariff trade barriers. I think you got it. Next, peace clause. Peace clause. It provides a temporary relief or immunity. Peace clause provides a temporary relief or immunity to developing countries from legal challenges over breaching WTO norms, breaching or violating WTO norms. Example, India signed peace clause with America in 2013 in 2013 to support its Food Security Act. To support its Food Security Act. Okay, so I do remember in 2016 prelims a question was asked. The terms green box, amber box, blue box subsidies are related to. The answer is WTO. The question was asked in 2016. The question is very, very easy. So now I will be explaining green box, amber box, blue box subsidies. World Trade Organization WTO classifies domestic subsidies. WTO classifies domestic subsidies provided by member countries into three boxes. Green, amber and blue. Green, amber and blue based on their trade distorting effects. Based on their trade distorting effects. This classification is a part of AOA, Agreement on Agriculture. This classification is a part of AOA and aims to regulate subsidies while balancing global trade fairness with domestic agricultural needs. Number one, green box subsidies. Green means like traffic signal. They are allowed. They are no trade distorting or very less trade distorting. So green box subsidies are not trade distorting or they are very less trade distorting. Subsidies that cause minimal or no trade distortions. And are permitted without limits. Full stop. These are typically without limits. Full stop. These are typically government programs. Designed to achieve specific objectives like environmental protection, or rural development, without directly influencing production or prices. Okay, this is green box. Green box are completely allowed without any limits. These subsidies are allowed. Whatever the subsidy provided by the government, it is allowed. For example, for environmental protection and for disaster relief, whatever subsidies they allow, for research, it is allowed. Second, amber box subsidies. So these amber box subsidies are very dangerous. So amber box subsidies will impact the production. For example, MSP or input subsidies for seeds, fertilizers, etc. MSP, minimum support price, or input subsidies for seeds, fertilizers, electricity, etc. So they directly impact the production. Subsidies that are considered to distort trade. Subsidies that are considered to distort the trade by influencing prices or production. By influencing prices or production. So, WTO will have a serious scrutiny on amber box subsidies. WTO will impose serious scrutiny. It's not easy to come out of this scrutiny. So, amber box subsidies are not allowed more than an extent. 5%, 10%, there are certain limits, de minimis rules. Beyond that, they don't allow. Next, blue box subsidies. So, remember, amber box subsidies are very, very dangerous in WTO guidelines. Next, blue box subsidies. Like it will impose some quota on production or they are linked, quota on production or linked to subsidies. For example, I'll tell you, there is one scheme in Government of India, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, to promote organic farming. So, government says that government will support that through that program when there is a consolidation of 50 acreage of land. They will use support, but they will use, for example, PM Kisan will be given earlier only for 2-acre farmers, for example, or Raitu Bandhu will be given to the farmers only up to 5 acres. This, to an extent, are allowed. Unlimited support will not be allowed. For certain limits, based on certain limits, for certain causes, support will be allowed, but not unlimited. Blue box subsidies, to an extent, sometimes are allowed, based on the situation. For example, the farmers who have lands up to 2 acres, government will give some complete subsidy to them. These type of subsidies, to an extent, are allowed, but it should be based on some limitation or quota. Okay, so green box are completely allowed, amber box are highly scrutinized, blue box, which are based on some limitations or quotas, to an extent they are allowed. Take down. Subsidies that are linked to production, blue box subsidies. Subsidies that are linked to production, subsidies that are linked to production, but include measures to limit production, to avoid surplus and trade distortion. Okay, so these are all the important terms which we come across in WTO, and most importantly, in WTO, India is representing the global south. There is G33 in WTO. G33. India is representing the global south. And also, India has taken a strong stance on issues such as public stock holding for food security. So India wanted to have public stock holding for food security, patent waivers for COVID-19 vaccines, etc. India has submitted proposals to curb subsidies that promote industrial scale overfishing, emphasizing sustainability, and protecting small scale fishers. Next, in the era of trade wars, in the era of trade wars, there is a question about relevance of WTO. There is a question about relevance of WTO and reforms in WTO. Reforms in WTO. But we are living in a sovereign state system. We are living in a sovereign state system. International systems are comparatively weak when the rulers are steadfast in protectionist policies. Okay, so kindly do research on Thailand's diplomat statement on India's rice subsidies. Okay, Thailand's diplomats statement on India's rice subsidies, and the diplomat was replaced now. And I wish to tell you a point. WTO norms says that. Please take down. WTO norm says that support given should be within the 10% of de minimis limit. Within the 10% of de minimis limit. Within the 10%. De minimis. Minimis. What is de minimis limit? Minimum support should not exceed more than 10%. Subsidies should not exceed. In 2019 and 2020, India gave subsidies worth 13.7% of its rice production, which is higher than the permitted 10%. So this is the issue between India and Thailand settled down with this. Next, there is also an issue between India and Brazil over sugar subsidies, but now they have settled down the issue with their collaborative efforts on ethanol takedown. India and Brazil have ended the dispute. Over sugar subsidies at WTO. The two countries are now strengthening their cooperation. In ethanol production technology. See, long back, Brazil complained to WTO that India's sugar subsidies are amounting to protectionism and unfair. And now they have settled down. The entire issue. And most of the cases with respect to India were settled down in WTO, not through WTO dispute settlement body, but through mutual negotiations. There is an article in I think Indian Express, Financial Express. There is an article in Financial Express in February 2024. I can tell you some important points from that article. India and US have successfully resolved all 7 pending disputes in WTO. India and US have successfully resolved all 7 pending trade disputes at WTO. Okay. Key issues resolved. Number 1, poultry import dispute. One is poultry import dispute. See, our poultry is so strong and America wanted to sell turkey, chicken legs to India at a cheaper cost. India don't allow. When India started disallowing and levying more tariffs, America filed a case against India. Poultry import dispute. Second, retaliatory tariffs on farm products. Retaliatory tariffs on farm products. Retaliatory tariff. Retaliatory means once you impose tariffs on my goods, I will impose tariffs on your goods. This is called retaliation. India imposed retaliatory tariffs on some US agricultural imports. India imposed retaliatory tariffs on some US agricultural imports following US tariffs on Indian steel and aluminum products. So likewise, there are 7 issues. All the 7 issues were resolved. There are 7 issues and all the 7 issues were resolved. Okay. So overall, finally, we want to have a permanent agreement on special safeguard mechanism for our farmers and poor people. But still, rich countries are not allowing that. So we need to do more work on this. I have given some outlines on some aspects of WTO. We'll continue the sessions tomorrow. Thank you.